Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushai, Hashem, Harakakadash. God want to see apostles and those great most honorable well. Shalom to the brothers doing the work of Syrian truth, which was word to the four corners, man. Just gonna go into kind of basics, but what how the dynamic between Jacob and Esau has been set up, and how that's something that even now, time of the end, that's something that's waiting to be fulfilled. Because as far as for there's prophecies. You go back into the Old Testament. This is why these modern day Christians, they don't have a clue about the book they're dealing with. They'll have their New Testament and Psalms where they're not dealing with the Old Testament, not knowing there's prophecies that have yet to be fulfilled. Not everything's been fulfilled. There's hella things have been written of what the time of the end, time of judgment, which we're in the midst of. And one of the key things as well is Esau, the identity of Esau, who is a so-called white man, and what the role he's going to play. Same for Jacob, for Israel, for the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, who they are. That's something that is a mystery by and large. Most people think those guys in the land, those imitators, those pretenders, in the state of Israel, these guys are the guys, but prophecy tells you otherwise. So Genesis 25:21, and Isaac entreated the Lord Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her, and said, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord Yahweh. Yeah, so the kids inside were tussling and tumbling, and Esau was getting hit with a suplex. He was getting power bombed, through the wall, the line of the womb, into the ground. But why was it contention? And that's something that happened through the spirit, because basically the whole event of how Jacob and Esau got set up, the whole dynamic, that's something that was done led through the spirit. Just like this is the time of the forefathers, when how everything was being set up was incredibly deliberate. So it said, verse 23, and the Lord Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. Yeah, so you basically got 2 different nations have been separated from that point in time. And this is a time when the nations are being formed. So you would have had 2 people come from the same mother and father, but they would have had what? Different nations. There would have been different nations. And that's, I think if you go into Genesis, earlier in Genesis, it says about during the time of Peleg, that was when the nations were divided. So it says what? And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And very simple way to kind of look at one people being stronger than the other is there's one set of people where for them to walk around on the planet Earth underneath the sun, which is fucking over everything for half of the day. One has to put on sunscreen and the other one has a natural defense. So that alone lets the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, who are the Israelites, those are the stronger. And it says what? The elder will serve the younger. So the younger is going to be the one who's basically going to have the rule. And that goes into the promises that come through. And this is a key part of what Esau's trying to do. Because with Esau, with the promise he was given, it was what? By the sword shalt thou live. And then what? You'll be able to break the yoke from off thy neck. So and that's something that you see play out. The transatlantic slave trade, that's something to a lot of Jakes, it's a mystery. But these things happen what? It's all through prophecy. And that's what's being fulfilled for the sake of what? The end times. And then being in the land of the Americas, where it said what? Both Judah and Ephraim will be, what do you call it? The exact word that escapes me. Basically both be going through slavery together. So it says, serve the younger. So verse 24, And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called him Esau. Yeah, they was called Esau, Ashashwa, wasted away is he. Because that's the state that Esau came out with, was what the lacking of pigmentation. And that's, the weakness. And these are things that from back then until now is still relevant. Because even in the time of when Moses was on the sea, you have the example with in Numbers 12 with Miriam, where it says please don't let her be as one half dead. And you have it throughout the scriptures multiple times mentioning the colouring of the skin of the Israelites, and then the curse of leprosy, which is that's what Esau's dealing with to this day. These things are all set up, so now in the end times, the mysteries can be solved. Because it says as well, with the son of perdition that needed to be revealed who it was. All these prophecies needed to be bound together. And it says, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare him. Yeah. So his hand took hold the heel of Jacob. The heel of Esau. And what's the significance of that? Second Esdras 6 and Second Esdras 6, start from verse 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, and when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And that's the significance of what was recorded at the time. These are things basically about understanding the time of the end, which we're in the midst of. That's why people these things are people are confused. They don't know what's going on. They don't know why certain events are happening. Most people out here just thinking like they want to, be able to continue with their lives, have their 2 to 3 holidays in a year, be able to send their kids into university and set them up with a good life. But as of something like university, something like those simple, so-called simple life you're aiming for, these things all coming to an end. We're basically in a time where, the world as it is going to be completely restructured. And this is something that goes back to, the beginning of the book. So 2 Esdras 6 and 7, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the beginning, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Yeah, that goes into, I'm going to Daniel, when you have the statue, and even when you have the beast as well. You have the time, the different rulership of the different heathens rising and falling, all the different empires which you can go through history, you can piece that together. That's something Esau pieced together. Then what at the end you have the kingdom of heaven basically being set up through Yahweh Shai. And that's what we're in the midst of. That's what you're witnessing as you see all the brothers on the street corners outside pushing this word out, pushing it out in various languages, various locations on the earth, all speaking that same message, that same word. That's what's the chant going out to basically let you know, hey, Esau's his time's done. The mystery of all these things now has been demystified. When you get to the Charagma, the mark, that's been demystified. What Babylon the Great demystified. All these things through the Spirit, it's been revealed. And that's the nature of basically how the Lord deals, man. He deals with things through the Spirit. People are looking for a carnal, they're looking to have it where they have one of Esau's scientists come out and they'll have a paper, have a little presentation, break down. Well, yes, you see, and then, but now this is something that has to be revealed through the Spirit. But yeah. Well, read the last verse. So it says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the hill and the hand. Other questions, Ezra, asked thou not." Yeah. So I'll leave it there. Shalom. Yeah, but Shem and Shabbat. That's what's done.